Hey guys, and welcome back to World of Animals. Today we are going through a terrarium build I did for poison dart frogs. I had that project in mind for a long time and finally was able to do it. And now I will show you every step in it needs to create an enclosure like this. I paid full price for all of the materials and will list everything in the description of the video. Have fun! For the scape of the terrarium I used shishim and coconut fabric as a background. To process it, it had to be cut. The coconut fabric was easy cuttable with scissors, but for the shishim I had to use a cutter knife and then break it apart with my hands. After that, I went ahead and cleaned the terrarium inside. This has to be done because there may be toxic chemicals stuck to the glass out of the building process of the terrarium. Then I could place the background materials as I mentioned. I didn't glue them onto the glass because you would have been able to see the glue or silicone from the outside. In the front, I put a small pump for a waterfall and hid the cable behind the coconut fabric. Then I used expanding foam for the landscape. I tried to create some structures, but the foam expanded so much that you weren't been able to see them after it cured for 24 hours, except for a gap I left in the back for the planting later on. The front has a small gutter to collect water, but there was a pre-drilled hole. I sealed that hole with a small piece of plastic and some aquarium silicone. Then I went ahead and tried to fill it, and it was perfectly waterproof. After the 24 hours, the foam could be cut to create the landscape that I had in mind. This method can be used in every terrestrial enclosure and works really good for creating unique scapes. On the left, I formed a small hill with a hole on the side for the silicone tubing. This will be the waterfall. I also had to try if the driftwood I found fits. Later on, I changed the position of it, and it turned out pretty well. That was the final scape of the foam that I did. Then I used coconut fiber, crushed JBL plant soil, and aquarium silicone to make the foam look like the floor of a forest with soil and stones. I sprinkled the crushed soil over the layer of silicone and pressed the coconut fiber on top of it. All this gave the enclosure a pretty cool look in my opinion. This scape looks very natural and unique. As a plant substrate I grabbed some sphagnum moss, pine bark, and again plant soil and a lot of coconut fiber. I created a mixture of it for a well-balanced nutrition source for plants and microorganisms. Before proceeding, I gave the waterfall a test run. At the outlet, I put a small stone to direct the flow of the water. It looked just as I imagined it. Then I created a drainage layer on the ground and placed my substrate on top of it. I also inserted the first inhabitants of the terrarium, some springtails. These creatures will break down any leftovers in the enclosure and also prevent mold. For plants I used the Ficus pumila, Bromelia viresa, Tillandsia cyanea amita, Pilea glauca, Alocasia poli, Eranomanchera sinica, Scindapsus pictus, Asplenium trichomanus, and an orchid, and also some Vesicularia ferae. Before putting them in the terrarium, I removed all of the fertilized plant soil and gave the plants also a good rinse. Then, one after another could be placed throughout the enclosure. I smoothed the edges of the scape with the creeping type of plants and placed the rest around the setting so it would look natural. The orchids went in between the branches of the wood, just like in nature, because these plants are actually epiphytes and grow on other plants. This is how the finished scape of the enclosure looks like. It is meant for poison dart frogs, and soon I will upload a video of them. Later on, I also added some Monte Carlo throughout the terrarium. I hope you liked it, and if you want to see more of this, make sure to subscribe to the channel. Also leave a like and a comment, and we see us next time. Stay tuned.